He woke up in the body of his greatest enemy. She found herself possessing the very power she swore to destroy. Alpha Liam, leader of the powerful Shadow Moon Pack, is suddenly trapped in the immortal skin of Elara, the ruthless vampire queen. And Elara is trapped in the raw, savage strength of the Alpha. Now, they must navigate a forbidden mate bond that recognizes their true soul, while they wear a disguise that could get them killed. Welcome back to Lily's Heart Tales, where every story is a deep dive into fate, magic, and the love that defies the odds. If you're new here, tap that subscribe button now and join our pack. You won't want to miss how these two mortal enemies find the love of their life while literally wearing each other's skin. For centuries, the Shadow Moon Pack and the ancient Vampire Coven ruled by Elara have been locked in a bloody, unforgiving war. Tonight, Alpha Liam was ending it. Liam, a beast of raw, untamed strength, moved through the shadows of the ancient, ivy-draped vampire estate. His mission was simple: eliminate the vampire queen. The scent of dust and cold blood was overwhelming, but his focus was absolute. He found her not in a throne room, but in a hidden library, a dark, vaulted space filled with forbidden knowledge. Elara was exactly as terrifying as legend described: ice-cold eyes, skin like carved marble, and a grace that masked devastating speed. She was holding a glittering alien object, a small, ornate mirror that pulsed with erratic emerald light. It was a relic of the forgotten Fae, the only thing of value Liam couldn't allow her to escape with. "Vampire Queen," Liam growled, dropping into a protective crouch, ready to shift. "This war ends now. Drop the artifact." Elara's lips curled in a chilling sneer. "The only thing ending, mongrel, is your miserable existence." The two launched themselves into a chaotic, desperate struggle over the relic. Liam's brute force was met by Elara's impossible speed. She slashed at his chest, drawing blood. He slammed her against the wall, but she was like stone. The fight was a blur of teeth, claws, and lethal, silent strikes. In the final desperate struggle, Liam slammed his heavy boot down on the pedestal holding the Fae artifact. The object, a cursed mirror fueled by centuries of Fae resentment, shattered. A blinding pulse of emerald light ripped through the library. Liam felt a crushing, horrifying pressure, like his soul was being ripped from its roots, followed by an immediate, terrifying stillness. The light faded. Liam, now standing, looked down at his own hands, except they were delicate, pale, and tipped with razor-sharp claws. He gasped, but the sound that came out was a melodic, aristocratic purr that belonged only to the queen. "I'm in the body of the vampire." Across the room, Elara looked down at the hairy, muscular hands and massive, scarred torso of the Alpha. She was overcome by a wave of furious animal instinct and a painful, immediate aversion to the light filtering through the high windows. "I'm trapped in the body of the beast." Before either of them could utter a sound of protest, the library doors burst open. Elara's loyal second-in-command, a towering vampire named Silas, bowed low. "Your Majesty, are you well? We heard a crash." Liam, in Elara's body, found himself answering with the Queen's voice. "I am perfectly well, Silas. Prepare for battle." He felt a cold wave of horror. He was commanding his own executioners. Meanwhile, Elara, in Liam's body, felt a massive shadow fall over her. It was Rhys, Liam's beta, his face a mask of confusion. "Alpha?" Rhys questioned, tilting his head. "You sound different. And why is your scent so calm? What did the Queen do to you?" Rhys took a small, hesitant step toward the vampire body standing opposite them. His eyes narrowed in sudden, fierce protection. The Alpha's mate bond, housed deep in the wolf's body, was suddenly humming, confusingly drawn to the soul trapped in the body of its greatest enemy. Chapter 1. Liam, trapped within Elara's delicate, cold body, knew he was in hell. He felt the vampire queen's unnatural aversion to the lingering scent of wolf blood on his own alpha clothing. The body demanded stillness, demanded shadows, and craved the deep, icy stillness of the coffin he instinctively knew was waiting for him. He was currently addressing the stern, suspicious vampire guards, his mind racing to mimic the queen's distant, commanding persona. "Leave us," Liam as Elara commanded, the voice smooth and lethal. He signed the dismissal sharply, the gesture feeling alien to his wolf spirit. Silas, the second in command, paused, his cold eyes scrutinizing the queen's unusually quick movements. "Your Majesty, your scent? It is agitated. Are you certain you do not require a fresh source?" A wave of nausea hit Liam. The vampire body registered the word source, blood, with a horrible, desperate hunger. He slammed the queen's elegant hand onto the table, the action jarringly aggressive for the vampire. "I require silence, Silas. Attend to the boarders." Liam, as Elara, forced the dismissal, feeling the raw, protective instinct of the alpha rage against the vampire's inherent cruelty. "I will not feed. I will not kill." Meanwhile, Elara, trapped in Liam's heavy, scarred alpha body, faced a far more chaotic nightmare. The wolf body was a furnace, a loud, demanding machine that throbbed with unnecessary warmth and aggression. Sunlight pouring through the windows made her eyes water painfully. She was standing before Liam's beta, Rhys, whose confusion over the alpha's calm scent had only escalated. "Alpha, why are you not shifting?" Rhys demanded, stepping closer. "That vampire, she is still alive. We need to track her down now." Elara, as Liam, felt the beta's challenge deep in the wolf body's core, an overwhelming instinctual urge to shift, growl, and establish dominance. She had to fight Liam's body just to keep standing still. "We will not shift," Elara, as Liam clipped out, the alpha's voice a deep, gravelly rumble that felt vulgar in her ears. "The queen has retreated. We will wait for twilight." Rhys looked incredulous. "Retreat? Alpha, we never retreat. And you smell like a meadow, not a battle. What did she do to you?" Elara felt the alpha body surge with defensive rage at the challenge, its claws instinctively starting to push out. She slammed the body's massive hands together, crushing the aggressive urge with sheer willpower. She knew the sun was the vampire body's weakness. She was delaying the attack to protect Liam, but it looked like cowardice to the pack. She realized the terror. Liam's body was demanding she run into the sunlight, and Elara's body was demanding blood. To obey either body's instinct was to betray the other and potentially end the fragile chance they had to survive. She had to see the vampire queen. She needed to find the man who held her soul captive before the wolf body took over and she destroyed his world forever. She pushed past Rhys, stumbling slightly as she fought the alpha's aggressive, loping stride, whispering the only word that mattered: artifact. The neutral ground was a forgotten, crumbling industrial warehouse between the Packlands and the vampire estate, a place neither species would usually set foot. Twilight was falling, providing the minimal shadow the vampire body craved and the minimal scent coverage the wolf body needed. Liam, in Elara's body, arrived first, radiating cold frustration. He was meticulously cleaning a spot of blood from the queen's elegant white sleeve, an absurdly alpha action. He hated the weakness of the body, the immediate demands of the night, and the forced femininity of the garment. Elara, in Liam's body, burst in moments later, moving with the rough, chaotic energy of the werewolf. She slammed the alpha's powerful body against a wall, fighting the unfamiliar animal urge to pace and mark territory. The alpha's scent was overwhelmingly potent to her, and the muscle memory for his roar was constantly threatening to escape. "Stop cleaning my clothes, mongrel," Elara, as Liam, hissed, the deep, gravelly voice of the alpha sounding absurdly furious. "We need to talk about this abomination." Liam, as Elara, turned, his eyes, Elara's eyes, burning with alpha intensity. He spoke in the Queen's smooth, chilling voice. I am in your body, vampire, and I will not endure the degradation of filth. You, however, are disgracing my body by acting like an enraged, clumsy child. Clumsy! Elara, as Liam snarled, raising the Alpha's fist. The sheer size and power of the fist horrified her. I have just spent 3 hours resisting the urge to mark every tree in your territory and feeling a dizzying need to run into the damn sun. This body is a prison of vulgar instincts, and mine is a trap of deathly silence and thirst, Liam, as Elara countered, his voice dripping with forced calm. I have successfully avoided my guards and resisted the Queen's innate need for sustenance for 8 hours. My pack is coming for your body, and your faction is suspicious of mine. We must cooperate. Elara lowered the Alpha's hand, reluctantly acknowledging the logic. Cooperate how? You wear my immortality, and I wear your fate. The instant your Beta sees me, he is drawn to your body, thinking I am his mate. Liam flinched, recognizing the truth. Rhys's confused, intense stare had unsettled him. The mate bond. It recognizes the soul, not the shell. Liam, as Elara realized, his voice softer, touched by dread. If we are close for long, the bond will scream, and both our factions will discover the truth. We need the cure fast. Elara, as Liam, ran the Alpha's hand through the Vampire Queen's hair, a gesture of Alpha stress that felt foreign but essential. The artifact shattered. We need to know what it was and who cursed it. Liam stepped forward, his cold vampire hand reaching out. We touched it together. If we connect again, if we link our instincts, perhaps we can trigger a shared memory before the body swap kills us both. Elara hesitated, fighting the overwhelming wolf instinct to recoil from the vampire's touch. But survival was stronger than hatred. She placed the Alpha's hand into the Queen's cold, delicate grip. As their hands connected, a dizzying, sharp pain shot through both their minds. They saw a flash. A gnarled ancient Fey elder surrounded by emerald light, their face twisted in a look of ancient, unforgiving malice. And they heard a chilling, unified whisper in their minds. 7 days until dissolution. Pay the Fey price or burn. They tore their hands apart, breathless. 7 days, Liam, as Elara whispered, his voice trembling for the first time. The curse is a Fey death sentence. Elara, as Liam stood tall, the Alpha's posture suddenly determined. Then we stop fighting the body. You use my cold ruthlessness to rule, and I use your savage strength to hunt the Fey Elder. We survive the enemy within, or we die together. Chapter 2. The Vampire Queen's Court, Alpha Liam's Challenge. Liam, trapped in the cold, elegant shell of Queen Elara, faced the Vampire Council. He sat on the Iron Throne, an object of discomfort and inherent cruelty. The vampire nobles, beings of ancient power, were watching his every breath, every flicker of Elara's pale eyes. The challenge, he had to command ruthlessness while his alpha soul demanded justice. The vampire Silas, eyes narrowed with calculated suspicion, presented a proposal. Your Majesty, the recent skirmish suggests the Shadow Moon Alpha is weakened. We should raid their southern villages. We require fresh sustenance and a display of dominance. Liam's alpha soul recoiled. Raid villages? Attack innocents? The core of the wolf demanded protection, not predation. But the vampire body was cold, still, and entirely unbothered. He knew Elara would relish this. Liam, as Elara, leaned forward, mimicking the Queen's trademark aloof cruelty. No, he commanded, his voice a chilling purr. A direct raid is predictable. We will not waste our energy on soft targets. We will focus our efforts on eliminating the Alpha's Beta Rhys. A leaderless pack is easier to conquer. The vampires exchanged impressed glances. The new ruthlessness felt right to them. Liam, however, felt sickened. He had just signed his Beta's death warrant, but he had successfully diverted the attack from the innocent. He felt a desperate urge to pace, to shift, to scent the air. All wolf instincts the vampire body instantly choked, forcing stillness. The werewolf alpha's run. Vampire Elara's challenge. Meanwhile, Elara, trapped in Alpha Liam's heavy, overly warm body, was enduring a strenuous pack patrol run. The pack moved through the deep forest, the scents of pine, damp earth, and prey overwhelming Elara's senses. The wolf body moved with an aggressive, loping stride, demanding she set a blistering, unsustainable pace. She hated the raw, primal energy. She hated the constant heat. Every jump, every rough landing sent a jarring jolt through her non-vampire senses. Her refined senses screamed at the lack of subtlety, the sheer noise of the wolf's world. "Alpha!" Rhys called out from behind, running effortlessly. "Your stride is lagging. Is the vampire queen? Is her venom still in your system?" Elara felt the alpha body flood with shame and aggressive correction, the instinct to reassert dominance by running faster and harder. She fought the urge, forcing the body to slow to a manageable, though still taxing, pace. "My stride is tactical, Beta," Elara, as Liam snapped, the voice gruff and strained. "We conserve energy. We are not brutes." Rhys looked confused by the insult to their physicality, but obeyed. As they reached a clearing, the pack began an impromptu sparring session. Rhys challenged Elara. She had to fight. Elara, in Liam's body, moved with the vampire's signature fluid, lethal grace, too fast, too precise, too cold for a wolf. She nearly shattered Rhys's elbow with a clean, dislocating strike. The pack stared. Alpha Liam fought with raw fury and brute force, never efficiency. "My apologies, Beta," Elara, as Liam panted, forcing the alpha's loud, heavy breathing. "I am testing your response time. It needs work." As she moved past Rhys, her eyes, Liam's eyes, flicked toward the eastern border, the direction of the vampire estate. She had to ensure Liam, in her body, was safe. In that moment of concern, the alpha body reacted. A deep, instinctive wave of protective mate recognition surged through her. Her body, Liam's body, physically warmed, responding not to the vampire queen's physical presence, but to the mate's soul, Elara's soul, caring for its host. Elara felt a devastating sense of longing and devotion for the vampire queen. Elara, the soul, was horrified. "I am falling in love with my enemy, in his body, while I wear the skin of the beast." The involuntary surge of protective heat Elara, in Liam's body, felt for the vampire queen terrified her. She hastily dismissed Rhys and the pack, forcing the alpha body into the safety of Liam's private study, a place of aggressive scents and uncomfortable trophies. She collapsed into Liam's huge leather chair, running his hand over her face. "This is impossible," Elara whispered in Liam's deep, rumbling voice. "I hate vampires. I hate her. Yet this barbaric body demands I protect her." A few hours later, under the deepest cloak of night, Liam, in Elara's body, arrived for a prearranged, secretive check-in. He looked pristine, cold, and utterly terrifying. He had clearly used Elara's inherent power to quickly eliminate a minor threat that had been harassing the coven. "The Obsidian clan is neutralized," Liam, as Elara announced, his voice smooth and deadly. "But the queen's body hates the smell of pack blood, even on its own hands. It demands solitude." Elara, as Liam, paced towards him, the alpha body radiating concern. "We have bigger problems than aversion. I felt the mate bond. Your soul is drawing the protective instinct out of this wolf. If I am near you for too long, Rhys will know. He will detect the sudden loyalty to the enemy queen." Liam stiffened, realizing the gravity of the threat. "The bond is amplifying because our souls are vulnerable. We must maintain distance and keep the roles flawless." As he spoke, Liam instinctively reached out and adjusted a stray strand of hair from Elara's face, a gesture of alpha tenderness. Elara, as Liam, instantly recoiled, fighting the overwhelming urge in the alpha body to press close, to scent the queen's neck and claim her. "Stop that!" Elara, as Liam, growled, the alpha's voice harsh. "The body is betraying us. Every move you make as the queen is too gentle, too honorable. You were nearly caught today because you refused to let Silas torture a captive." Liam, as Elara, retorted, his vampire body vibrating with forced anger. "And you nearly crippled my beta by moving like a snake, not a wolf. Your vampire movements are too efficient, too cold. You need to maintain the brute force, the lack of subtlety that is Liam." The argument escalated into a confusing, high-stakes torrent of self-criticism. They were criticizing the very qualities that made them their true selves, all while their bodies fought to reconcile the souls within. Suddenly, Elara, as Liam, stopped pacing. She looked at Liam, as Elara, with Liam's eyes that held a strange, confusing mix of alpha authority and vampire seduction. "The bond demands truth," Elara whispered in the deep alpha voice. "We cannot fake this entirely. If we are to survive, we need one point of honesty." Liam, as Elara, waited, his cold eyes unblinking. Elara took a hesitant step closer, the massive alpha body trembling slightly. She used the alpha's powerful hand to gently trace the delicate line of the vampire queen's jaw. "I need to know you," Elara confessed, her voice thick with the deep, confusing resonance of the wolf. "The real Liam, the part that hates the bloodthirst, the part that saves the innocent. If this body is to fall in love with you, the soul it recognizes, I need to know why I must keep you alive." Liam, as Elara, felt the mate bond seize his soul. The cold vampire body yearned for the alpha's honest confession. He knew he couldn't lie. He spoke the truth, the melodic, chilling voice of the queen, belying the heartfelt honesty of the alpha. "I will not let you die, Elara," Liam, as Elara, promised. "You are cold, cruel, and my mortal enemy, but your soul is tenacious, ruthless, and devoted to protecting your own. I saw that in your fight, and this alpha body, it recognizes its match." He took Elara's hand, Liam's hand, and squeezed it tightly. The act of pure honesty, the first flicker of genuine romantic connection, sent a dizzying, protective warmth through the mate bond. They were falling for the soul while standing face to face in the most perfect, deadly disguise. Chapter 3. The atmosphere in the vampire court was a cold knife. Liam, inhabiting the body of Queen Elara, was presiding over the distribution of resources. He had diverted the best blood rations away from the warrior caste and toward the elderly and the young, a policy of compassion utterly foreign to the real Elara. Silas, the towering, calculating second-in-command, watched from the shadows. Silas had served Elara for centuries. He knew the subtle nuances of her cruelty. The current queen moved differently, spoke with slightly less aristocratic precision, and unforgivably was exhibiting mercy. Silas approached the throne after the court dispersed, his movements silent and lethal. "Your Majesty, I must challenge your recent decisions. You allowed 3 non-compliant thralls to live. The cost of their inaction affects our dominance." Liam, as Elara, met his gaze, fighting the urge to snarl. He had to maintain Elara's voice, but infuse it with the alpha's unyielding authority. "Dominance is maintained through strategy, Silas, not through petty murder. The alpha is preparing a trap. We must conserve power." "Power?" Silas sneered, stepping closer, violating the queen's personal space. "Or is it weakness, Your Majesty? You are wearing the blood robes, but you are not wearing the spirit. Your scent, it is muted. It is wrong. It carries the taint of vulnerability." The accusation hit Liam like a physical blow. Silas hadn't detected the soul swap, but he had detected the alpha's morality fighting the vampire body. Liam, as Elara, stood up, projecting every ounce of alpha fury he could muster through the queen's delicate form. "You question the authority of your queen? You forget who controls your own life." Silas simply smiled, a chilling, predatory display of teeth. The Queen has always valued strength. I believe the Queen is no longer fit to rule. You are distracted by the mongrel Alpha's scent. You show fear. I believe the Queen is compromised. Before Liam could react, Silas delivered a sharp, unexpected kick, aiming directly for the vampire body's sternum. A move designed to test reaction time and provoke a pure, instinctual response. Liam's alpha reflexes took over. He caught the blow, not with the Queen's icy speed, but with the alpha's brute force and stability. He slammed Silas's foot down with enough power to make the vampire recoil, then shoved Silas back hard. Silas's eyes widened, not in fear, but in calculation. The counter was too heavy, too visceral, and entirely lacking in vampire finesse. The Queen never uses brute force. Silas bowed low, a mocking sign of deference, concealing the rising triumph in his eyes. "My Queen, forgive my insolence. I was merely testing your strength." But as he backed away, Silas was already plotting. He would use the supposed weakness to call a challenge before the Vampire Council at dawn. He would usurp the throne, and the compromised Queen would be eliminated. Meanwhile, miles away in the damp Alpha study, Elara, in Liam's body, felt a sharp, confusing pang of pain across the Alpha's chest, the residual pain from Silas's unexpected attack. She had to find Liam. He was in danger. Elara, trapped in the Alpha's massive body, found Liam, as Elara, waiting in the ruins of the vampire library, the site of the swap. Liam was shaky, leaning heavily on a shattered marble column, the coldness of the vampire body barely concealing the lingering stress of Silas's attack. "Silas knows," Liam, as Elara, whispered, the Queen's voice tight with fury. "He tested me. He felt the Alpha's resistance. He's calling a challenge for dawn. I have hours, not days." Elara, as Liam, felt the sharp, protective surge of the mate bond reacting to Liam's distress. She had to fight the urge to comfort the vampire body, reminding herself she was the Alpha. "The time for playing roles is over," Elara, as Liam stated, using the Alpha's gruff, commanding tone. "We need the answer now. Where is the Fey artifact?" Liam pointed with Elara's delicate finger toward the dusty corner where the artifact had shattered. All that remained was a single, fist-sized shard of dark, polished mirror glass, pulsing faintly with a residue of emerald light. "We link, Alpha," Liam, as Elara, commanded, his voice trembling slightly. "If the soul swap is to be permanent, let it be on our own terms." They approached the shard cautiously. Elara, as Liam, fought the Alpha's instinct to destroy the dangerous Fey object. Liam, as Elara, fought the vampire body's aversion to touching the crude earthly glass. Simultaneously, they placed their palms, the cold vampire hand and the hot wolf hand, onto the shard. The connection was not a gentle mental link. It was a violent, overwhelming torrent of shared sensation. They were pulled into a horrifying shared memory, anchored centuries in the past. They saw Liam's ancestors, raw, savage wolves, desecrating an ancient, sacred Fey grove to claim new territory. They saw Elara's ancestors, cold, cruel vampires, paving over the sacred spring with their stone estate. The Fey elder, Mare, had watched the twin desecrations, her face contorted by centuries of slow, simmering revenge. The whisper ripped through their linked minds, clearer this time. "You disrespect the balance. You shall trade your existence. The curse ends only with the elemental sacrifice, the life of the water for the life of the land." They were brutally thrown back into the present, gasping. Elara, as Liam, stumbled, leaning heavily on the wall. Liam, as Elara, collapsed onto the cold stone floor, shivering. "The Fey elder, Mare," Elara, as Liam, grated out, processing the memory with the vampire's detached intellect. She cursed both factions. The cure requires a water sprite, a trapped elemental being. Liam, as Elara, spoke, his voice hoarse with shock and rising terror. But the memory, she mentioned the life of the water for the life of the land. The water sprites are protected by the Werewolf Vault, a place only the Alpha can open, and the artifact needed to contain the sprite is hidden in the vampire treasury. The terrifying truth snapped into focus. The curse was a riddle. Liam had to use the Vampire Queen's influence to get the artifact to contain the sprite, and Elara had to use the Alpha's strength to get the sprite from the pack vault. They needed the enemy's resources to achieve the cure. We split up, Elara, as Liam decided, standing tall in the Alpha's resolute posture. You use the Vampire Queen's power to get the containment relic. I will use the Alpha's authority to break into the vault. Liam, as Elara, managed a cold, determined nod. If Silas succeeds at dawn, it will be an execution. You have less than 8 hours to get me that sprite, Wolf. Chapter 4. Elara, trapped in the massive, muscled body of Alpha Liam, moved with a desperate speed that fought against the wolf's protective sluggishness. It was mere hours until dawn, and Silas would execute the Queen. She needed the water sprite from the pack's ancient vault. The Werewolf Vault was hidden deep beneath the sacred Moonstone Ridge, a cavern known for its shifting walls and ancient lethal traps designed to kill anything without pure Alpha blood. Reaching the vault's entrance, Elara felt the Alpha body flood with a series of complex sensory cues, scents that marked safe passage, specific vibrations in the earth indicating pressure plates, and the heavy pull of ingrained Alpha memory. Liam's body knew the way, but Elara's soul had to fight the body's protective urge to turn back. She approached the main vault door, a slab of rune-etched iron. To open it required a specific, complex sequence of pressure and rhythmic chanting that resonated only with the Alpha's bloodline. Elara, as Liam, pressed her ear against the cold iron, listening to the deep, silent hum of the vault's defenses. She realized the chant was not about words, it was about frequency and rhythm. She had to replicate Liam's heartbeat as he entered the vault, a beat that was currently pounding furiously with her own trapped anxiety. "Focus, Elara," she grunted, Liam's voice a rough tremor. "Be cold. Be Liam." She slowed her breathing, fighting the wolf's panicked surge. She began tapping a precise, forceful rhythm on the iron, the heavy, steady beat she instinctively knew belonged to Liam when he was calm and certain. As she finished the sequence, the iron door groaned open just enough for her to slip through. Inside, the cavern was a maze of tunnels and pitfalls. The air was thick with the scent of dried herbs and static electricity, the signature of the ancient wolf traps. Elara had to move with an awkward mixture of the vampire's subtle planning and the Alpha's sheer, crude power. She navigated the first hallway, using the Alpha body's acute sense of smell to detect trace amounts of tripwire poison. But the next obstacle was a ceiling-level pressure plate that required an impossible jump. Elara, as Liam, looked at the ceiling, then at the massive bulk of the Alpha body. She hated the brutish lack of finesse, but she had no choice. She took a running start, feeling the powerful, coiled muscles of the Alpha's legs exploding into motion. She smashed through the ceiling-level obstacle, landing heavily on the other side. The impact would have shattered a vampire's bones, but the Alpha's body simply registered it as a loud inconvenience. The pure, uncontrolled force horrified her, but it worked. She finally reached the center chamber. The water sprite was trapped inside a crystalline cage, glowing faintly, a small, childlike creature of living liquid. The sprite shrieked as it sensed the massive Alpha presence. As Elara reached for the cage, a voice sliced through the silence. "Stop right there, Alpha." Rhys, the Beta, stood at the cavern entrance, his eyes wide and suspicious. "The defenses triggered. The rhythmic pulse was wrong, and you are moving with the finesse of a dancer, not a warrior. Who are you, and where is my Alpha?" Elara was cornered, the water sprite just inches away. She couldn't shift, she couldn't explain. She had to use the one weapon the Alpha body possessed that the Beta couldn't question: intimidation. Elara, as Liam, straightened up, the massive alpha body instantly radiating an undeniable aura of raw, primal authority. She did not speak, but let the silent, terrifying alpha presence fill the room. The sheer weight of command, the intrinsic, nonverbal threat of the highest-ranking wolf, forced Rhys to recoil. Liam, trapped inside the cold elegance of Queen Elara, stalked through the vampire estate's hidden catacombs. He was navigating the Queen's secret world, a network of shadowed contacts and illicit trade he wouldn't have known existed in his own body. His target, the Ethereum box, a fey relic capable of containing an elemental being. He reached a heavily warded junction where a small, shifty fey merchant waited, a creature named Rune, known only to Elara's inner circle. "The Queen requested the Ethereum box," Liam, as Elara, commanded, forcing the Queen's characteristic chilling lack of emotion into his voice. "I require it now." Rune snickered, his eyes darting to the floor. "The box is rare, Your Majesty. It requires a price worthy of the element it holds. I hear you've been soft lately. Is the price still worth the effort?" Liam's alpha instinct screamed to smash the fey creature against the wall and demand the relic. But he knew Elara's method: cold manipulation. Liam, as Elara, took a slow, deliberate step closer. He used the Queen's hypnotic voice, dropping it to a seductive, lethal whisper. "You question the will of the Vampire Queen, Rune? The only softness I possess is the velvet glove that hides the iron fist. The price is immortality." Rune froze, his small fey body trembling. "Immortality? That's not in the previous agreement." "The previous agreement was based on the Queen's patience," Liam countered smoothly, the words tasting like ash in his alpha soul. "My patience has expired. You give me the box, and I grant you 7 decades of renewed unlife. No aging, no decay. You betray me, and I grant you 7 seconds of agonizing fire." The fey merchant, faced with the Queen's ultimate reward or ultimate punishment, instantly succumbed. With trembling hands, Rune revealed a small, intricately carved silver box that hummed with quiet fey energy, the Ethereum box. Liam grabbed the box, feeling a wave of disgust that he had successfully manipulated a creature using Elara's signature ruthlessness. He returned to the main hall, securing the relic, but his victory was short-lived. Suddenly, a voice sliced through the tension. "Silas. Your Majesty, where were you? The council has convened. You missed the official announcement of the duel." Liam, as Elara, realized the trap. Silas had moved the challenge to dawn, forcing Liam into a high-stakes combat scenario with zero rest. Silas noticed the silver box hidden under the Queen's shawl. His eyes narrowed. What trinket is that? Is the Queen preparing for a hasty retreat? Liam knew he couldn't lie. Elara never lied when a threat of dominance was necessary. He had to use the truth as a weapon. Liam, as Elara, stepped forward, placing the silver box on the table. "This is the sacrificial relic, Silas. The Alpha struck me with a curse, one that will destroy us both if not contained by this. I was securing the only means of our survival." Silas stared at the box, recognizing the powerful fey magic it contained. He didn't believe the curse story, but the Ethereum box was real and potent. Silas smiled, the cunning, self-serving smile of a usurper who thought he knew the Queen's final plan. "A sacrificial relic," Silas mused, drawing his silver dueling sword. "How fitting. It seems you have prepared for your end, Your Majesty. Let the duel begin." The door to the hall burst open, and Elara, in Liam's massive alpha body, stumbled in, having escaped Rhys's suspicions, and raced back. She carried the water sprite contained within the crystal cage she'd retrieved from the pack vault. She saw Liam, in her body, cornered, facing Silas's drawn blade. "Liam!" Elara, as Liam, roared, the alpha's voice echoing with panic and raw, protective instinct. She didn't care about the risk of revealing the swap. She cared only for her mate's soul. Liam, as Elara, looked at the alpha body, seeing the water sprite and the relief that she had secured the item. He signed a silent, urgent command to her with his eyes. The fight is unavoidable. Give me the sprite. Now. Chapter 5. The vampire hall erupted in confusion the moment Elara, in Liam's body, burst through the door, roaring Liam's name. The Vampire Council turned as one, their cold eyes darting between the frantic Alpha and the cornered Queen Elara, Liam's soul. Silas seized the opportunity. Look, the Alpha is compromised. The Queen clearly intended to meet the mongrel, proving she has been corrupted. Liam, as Elara, ignored Silas, his focus entirely on the water sprite in the crystal cage Elara carried. "The sprite, Elara, now!" he commanded in the Queen's voice. Elara, as Liam, rushed forward, tossing the cage and the Ethereum box onto the stone floor near the throne. The sprite shrieked as it sensed the vampire magic. Elara then stood protectively in front of Liam, the alpha body radiating confused fury. "You will not touch him!" Elara, as Liam, bellowed, forgetting she was supposed to be the enemy of the Queen. Silas smiled, recognizing the emotional slip. "The evidence is overwhelming. The Queen has been seduced by the mongrel's soul. Execution is required." He lunged at Liam, as Elara, with his silver sword. The duel began. Liam was trapped in a body designed for lethal speed and calculated strikes, not the Alpha's sustained brute force. He dodged the first blow with the Queen's shocking vampire agility, moving like liquid shadow, a foreign but effective movement. Silas pressed his attack, forcing Liam to rely entirely on Elara's training. Liam used a quick, cold block, the elegant movement saving his life, but the impact rattled the vampire body's brittle, immortal bones. "You tire quickly, Your Majesty," Silas taunted, driving his attack toward the heart. "Where is your endless stamina?" Liam knew the weakness. The Alpha's endless aggression was useless here. He had to end the fight immediately. Remembering Elara's subtle critique of his fighting style, he stopped trying to match Silas's speed. He waited. When Silas came in for a wide, sweeping strike, Liam unleashed one, pure alpha move. He didn't dodge. He slammed his elbow into Silas's wrist, using the wolf's raw density rather than the vampire's speed. A sickening crack echoed through the chamber. Silas howled, dropping his sword. Liam followed up with a kick to the chest, using the sheer momentum of the vampire body, sending Silas sprawling. Elara, as Liam, watched the fight with horror and pride. Her soul cheered for the wolf's decisive tactics, even as the alpha body winced in sympathy for the brutal force used. Silas, injured but furious, scrambled back, grabbing a decorative battle axe. He realized the truth. "You are not Elara. You fight with the strength of a brute. You are the Alpha." The council gasped, realization dawning. Liam, as Elara, panted, forcing the Queen's regal posture despite the immense physical strain. "I am Queen Elara, and I have just proven that my strength is adaptable." But the victory was short-lived. Lyra, the Werewolf Beta, who had followed Elara's trail, burst into the hall, seeing Liam, the alpha body, standing protectively over the injured vampire queen. "Alpha, what is this madness?" Rhys roared, seeing his leader defend the vampire. "Why are you protecting her?" The threat was now from both sides. Liam had defeated Silas, but he was surrounded by vampires who knew he was an imposter, and his own Beta, who saw only betrayal. Liam looked at Elara, as Liam, desperation in his cold eyes. He quickly signed the ritual sign for "prepare" with his fingers. "We have to do the ritual now, or we both die." The vampire hall dissolved into a whirlwind of chaos and confused loyalties. The council members, seeing their alpha, Elara, defending their queen, Liam, weren't sure who to attack. Silas, wounded but fueled by rage, saw only two targets: the imposter queen and the alpha who dared to touch her. Rhys, the Shadow Moon Beta, stood frozen. He saw his alpha acting defensively toward the mortal enemy, confirming his worst fears of corruption. "The alpha is compromised," Rhys roared, giving the pack command. "Seize the Vampire Queen! Save the Alpha's body!" Simultaneously, Silas screamed the vampire order. "The Queen is a fraud! Kill the wolf! Claim the Ethereum box!" The pursuit began. Liam, as Elara, grabbed the silver Ethereum box, while Elara, as Liam, scooped up the crystal cage containing the shrieking water sprite. They did not communicate verbally. Their eyes exchanged a single urgent command: run. Liam, in the vampire body, led the escape, his cold vampire instincts taking over. He moved with impossible speed, leading the way through the vampire catacombs, instinctively knowing every hidden passage and weakness in the estate's defenses. Elara, in the alpha body, followed, utilizing Liam's raw, powerful wolf strength to smash through locked doorways and deflect attacks from the pursuing vampires. The sight of the massive alpha fighting for the Vampire Queen was utterly confusing to the Shadow Moon warriors chasing them. Rhys and Silas found themselves running side by side, united by their hatred of the opposite faction, yet chasing the opposite targets. "You fool, Beta!" Silas snarled, using his speed to leap over a cavernous drop. "The wolf is the enemy. He holds the elemental needed for the curse." "The Queen holds the power," Rhys retorted, shifting partially to make the jump, his voice laced with confusion. "She corrupted our alpha. Seize her, and the mate bond will be restored." Liam, as Elara, realized the complexity of the chase. He was being chased by his own Beta, who was trying to rescue him, and by vampires who were trying to kill him. They burst out of the catacombs and onto the roof of the estate, bathed in the sickly yellow pre-dawn light. Elara, as Liam, saw her opportunity. She used the alpha body's immense strength to tear off a large stone gargoyle statue. "Liam!" Elara, as Liam, roared, using the alpha's voice to command attention. "The Fey site! The ancient oak! We meet there!" She then threw the heavy statue down onto the main courtyard, scattering the pursuers and buying them precious seconds. Liam, as Elara, nodded sharply, then did something the real Elara would never do. He used his vampire body to execute a terrifying, controlled freefall from the roof, catching himself mid-descent with a vampire's unnatural grip on a drainage pipe. He was sacrificing his body's energy, but gaining distance. Elara, as Liam, followed with a powerful, uncontrolled wolf jump, landing heavily but running instantly into the forest, leaving the confused, converging pack and coven behind them. They were now truly isolated, running toward the location of the curse's origin, carrying the two ingredients, the elemental sprite and the Ethereum box, and running out of time. They knew the final element required was a sacrifice, but the Fae's history suggested the cost would be far greater than just a sprite's life. Chapter 6. They were running on borrowed time and borrowed bodies. Liam and Elara were deep in the sprawling, dangerous forest between the pack and coven lands, moving toward the ancient Fae site they'd glimpsed in their shared memory. Elara, in Liam's body, led the way, relying on the alpha's endless wolf stamina. The body demanded speed and relentless forward motion. She pushed the massive muscles, using the heightened sense of smell to track their own confused pursuers. She could differentiate the heavy, determined scent of Rhys and the Shadow Moon pack from the lighter, faster, but just as lethal trails of Silas and the Vampire Coven. "The pack is gaining on the west ridge," Elara, as Liam, panted, the alpha voice grating with exertion. "They move like a herd, but they never tire. We need a diversion." Liam, in Elara's body, followed close behind, utilizing the Vampire Queen's unnatural agility and night vision. The vampire body hated the exertion, the sweat, and the damp earth, but its long, graceful strides were impossibly fast. He used Elara's superior sight to spot snares and tripwires the wolves had laid long ago. "The vampires are using the low, shadowed roots," Liam, as Elara, commanded, his voice a cold, steady counterpoint to Elara's ragged breathing. "They will cut us off at the river. We must sacrifice the speed for silence now." They reached a treacherous ravine. Elara, as Liam, wanted to use the alpha's sheer power to jump the gap. a risky, noisy move. Liam, as Elara, quickly signed with Elara's elegant hand a series of precise, controlled movements, showing her the subtle handholds and foot placements only a climber of centuries would know. Elara obeyed, trusting the enemy's knowledge. Using the vampire body's training within the Alpha's body, she traversed the cliff face with unnatural grace and quiet precision. As they crossed, they heard the shouts and confusion below. Rhys and Silas had found each other. "Beta, stand down!" Silas screamed up at the cliff face. "The Queen has the Ethereum box. She is the one. We must stop her from activating the curse." "The Alpha holds the water sprite," Rhys bellowed back, desperation lacing his voice. "He must be rescued before the Queen sacrifices him." Liam and Elara exchanged a look of shared irony. They were being chased for being both the betrayer and the victim, the killer and the key. They pressed onward, fighting the inherent weaknesses of their swapped forms. Liam, as Elara, began to crave blood again, the hunger distracting his mind and making him momentarily dizzy. Elara, as Liam, felt the wolf's protective urge surge every time Liam stumbled, forcing the Alpha's body to physically restrain itself from shifting and tearing their pursuers apart. Suddenly, a net of tightly woven silver wire, a pack trap for rogue shifters, snapped up, catching Elara, as Liam, and slamming the Alpha body against a tree. The silver burned the Alpha's skin, sending a wave of fiery pain through Elara's soul. "Elara!" Liam, as Elara, cried out, the Queen's voice filled with genuine Alpha panic. He rushed back, ignoring the vampire body's instinctive fear of the silver. He knew the Alpha's muscles were too dense to cut the wire. Liam, in Elara's body, had to use the vampire's specialized tool, one of the Queen's exquisitely sharp silver claws. He concentrated Elara's energy, extending a single, razor-thin claw and methodically slicing through the silver wire until Elara, as Liam, was free. They collapsed together, breathless, covered in mud and blood. The exchange was a silent acknowledgement of their interdependence. The Alpha's heart, forced to use the vampire's lethal tools, saved the vampire's soul, trapped in the Alpha's body. "We need to get to the Fae site," Liam, as Elara, panted, pulling Elara up. "I don't have enough control left to fight them both off, and they're closing in." They burst into the ancient Fae Grove, the source of the curse. It was a place of eerie, overgrown beauty, centered around a moss-covered, shattered stone altar, where the Fae artifact had originated. The air here was thick with residual, humming magic. Liam, in Elara's body, was panting, collapsing onto the damp earth. The vampire body was reaching its limit, the lack of sustenance and the exposure to earthly elements taking a severe toll. He opened the Ethereum box, the silver surface humming as it touched the sacred earth. Elara, in Liam's body, placed the water sprite cage onto the altar. The sprite, a shimmering, fist-sized creature of living water, was clearly terrified, pressing itself against the bars of the crystalline prison. The Fae Elder's curse memory demanded the life of the water for the life of the land. "We have to do this, Elara," Liam, as Elara, urged, forcing the Queen's melodic voice to stay steady. "We contain the sprite in the box, the altar consumes the life force, and the curse breaks. It's the only way." Elara, as Liam, nodded, the Alpha's massive hands trembling not from exhaustion, but from mounting moral horror. She looked at the terrified elemental being. The Alpha's soul, which she now wore, was revolted by the idea of cold-blooded, ritualistic murder, a common practice for the vampire queen she used to be. "No," Elara, as Liam, whispered, the Alpha's voice raw. "I can't. Look at it, Liam. It's sentient. I hate the cruelty of your wolf ancestors, and I hate the ruthlessness of my vampire ancestors that led to this curse. If we sacrifice an innocent life, we become no better than the Fae Elder who cursed us." Liam's eyes widened. He saw the conflict in her face. The true Queen Elara's ruthless soul would have already sliced the creature open without a second thought. But Elara's soul, wearing his alpha morality, was paralyzed by empathy. "We have no choice," Liam, as Elara argued, desperate. "Silas and Rhys are minutes away. If they reach us before the curse breaks, they will kill the soul inside me and claim your body. We sacrifice the sprite, or we lose our souls forever." Elara reached out the alpha's hand and gently touched the bars of the sprite's cage. "But what does the Fae truly want?" Mare cursed us for disrespect. Murdering an innocent elemental is the ultimate disrespect to the balance of life. It won't break the curse, it will deepen it. As she spoke, a chill wind ripped through the grove. The air swirled with emerald magic, coalescing into the translucent, ancient form of the Fae elder, Mare. She towered over them, her eyes twin shards of ancient ice. "You are late," Mare's voice echoed, cold and accusatory. "The time for balance is almost expired. Complete the elemental sacrifice, or perish. You must pay the price for the desecration of my sacred spring." Mare pointed a skeletal finger at the sprite. The creature wailed in terror. Liam, as Elara, scrambled to his feet, holding up the Ethereum box. "We have the vessel. We will pay the price." But Elara, as Liam, stood firm, planting the alpha's feet wide. She faced the Fae elder, her voice resonating with the alpha's true, unyielding authority, backed by her own moral conviction. "No," Elara challenged. "We will not. The sacrifice you demand is an act of evil that perpetuates the curse, not ends it. You want an elemental life for the land we stole. We will not trade one life for another." Mare let out a chilling, scornful laugh. "Then you have chosen death, werewolf and vampire, the life of the element, or the dissolution of your souls." The Fae magic began to condense, pressing down on the swapped pair, demanding the final fatal choice. They were running out of time, and the true cost of the cure was suddenly, terrifyingly clear. It was not an elemental life, but the sacrifice of their own deeply held hatred and self-preservation. Chapter 7. Mare, the Fae elder, her form shimmering with emerald vengeance, stood before them. Her eyes, filled with cold knowledge, fixed on the terrified water sprite in the cage and the Ethereum box waiting on the altar. "You defy the payment, little mortals?" Mare's voice was a chilling cascade of ice. "You have minutes until the dissolution claims your souls. The price is simple, the life of the water to mend the land. Sacrifice the elemental." Liam, in Elara's body, exhausted and starved, forced himself to stand tall. He spoke with the Queen's refined tone, now laced with alpha defiance. "We found the memory, Mare. The curse was vengeance, not balance. Murdering this sprite only proves the rot remains. We reject the price." Mare's ghostly form pulsed with anger, but then shifted to chilling amusement. "Very well. You refuse the life of the sprite. I offer you an easier alternative, permanence." The Fae elder swept her hand, and the emerald light intensified, washing over them. "You, werewolf," she addressed Liam as Elara, "are trapped in a body of immortal elegance. You no longer fear death or sunlight. You have the power to rule forever. Simply accept the change, and the bond will be severed. No dissolution, no curse. You gain immortality." Liam felt the vampire body hum with terrible temptation. Immortality, power, freedom from the messy cycle of life and death. It was a seductive lie. He looked at Elara, in Liam's body, who was fighting the urge to claw out the Fae's throat. Liam, as Elara, answered with fierce certainty. "I am the Alpha. My purpose is to protect my people and renew the life I lead. Immortality without my true strength is a gilded cage. I refuse." Mare turned to Elara, as Liam. "And you, vampire. You are trapped in the pinnacle of savage, youthful strength. No more shadows, no more aversion to the sacred. You are now the Alpha. Accept the change, and I will grant you the power to rule the land. You gain ultimate power." Elara felt the magnificent wolf body surge, the raw strength tempting her away from the delicate, fragile immortality she once prized. It was a tempting life of heat, sun, and raw dominance. But Elara's soul had seen Liam's goodness. She had felt his heartbreak. My true power is in my longevity and my mind, not in brute strength, Elara, as Liam stated, the alpha voice ringing with vampire dignity. And my heart, the soul you failed to swap, has chosen its mate. We do not need your gifts. The Fey Elder snarled, her patience gone. Fools, you choose death over power. Very well. Since you refuse the elemental sacrifice, I demand the true price of the curse, the life of the body. In that instant, Rhys and Silas, exhausted but united by their fear, burst into the clearing. They saw the Fey Elder, the captive sprite, and their leaders standing side by side, rejecting the curse. "It's the Fey!" Silas shrieked. "Kill the sprite before they finish the ritual." "No, they are trying to kill the Alpha," Rhys roared, lunging toward Elara as Liam. Mayer laughed, seeing the factions turn on each other. The perfect chaos for the final dissolution. Liam and Elara knew they had no time left. They had to act before their pursuers destroyed the altar, or before the Fey magic ripped their souls apart. They had confirmed their devotion and refused the easy way out. The only remaining option was the one born of their love, the true sacrifice. Liam, as Elara, grabbed the silver Ethereum box and tossed it to Elara, as Liam. The curse is the hatred. The sacrifice is the surrender. We break the box with the sprite's power. Chaos reigned in the Fey Grove. Rhys and the pack were grappling with Silas and the vampires, all focused on seizing the elemental items. Mare, the Fey Elder, raised her hands, preparing to unleash the full force of the curse's dissolution. Liam, as Elara, grabbed the crystal cage, shoving it toward Elara as Liam. "The Ethereum box, smash it!" Elara didn't hesitate. She took the Alpha's immense hand, placed the crystal cage containing the water sprite against the silver Fey box, and slammed them together against the altar with the full, devastating force of Liam's body. The crystal shattered, freeing the water sprite, which instantly merged with the magical silver box. The box didn't contain the sprite's life, but its pure elemental energy, which was violently released into the altar. The surge of energy wasn't a destructive blast. It was a wave of pure, cleansing Fey magic. Mare shrieked, her form flickering. "No! You did not sacrifice the life. You balanced the element." Elara, as Liam, stepped forward, using the Alpha body's powerful voice one last time, cutting through the chaos. "The true sacrifice is the hatred. We refuse to fight the bond or the bodies you forced us into. We forgive the past, and we choose the love the curse revealed." Liam, as Elara, stumbled forward, his pale face reflecting the agony of the impending soul separation. He locked eyes with the Alpha body, his gaze filled with the Alpha's fierce love. He spoke, his vampire voice cracking. "I submit my pride. I accept her ruthlessness. I accept her soul." Elara, as Liam, roared the answer, the powerful Alpha voice booming with acceptance. "I submit my hatred. I accept his strength. I accept his soul." With that dual declaration, the unconditional acceptance of their enemy's true nature, the Fey curse shattered. The emerald light exploded in a blinding flash that engulfed the entire grove. Liam and Elara felt the terrifying, agonizing, wrenching sensation again. But this time, their souls were being pulled home. The light faded. Liam was standing on the altar. He was massive, warm, scarred, and strong in his own body. He felt the pure, primal joy of his wolf instinct surging back, and the comforting sense of his own familiar scent. Elara was standing opposite him. She was cold, refined, immortal in her own body. The weakness and overwhelming heat were gone, replaced by her natural icy strength. They were themselves, and they were staring at each other with the raw, undeniable love forged in the fiery crucible of the swap. Mare, the Fey Elder, was gone, her ancient magic defeated by a force she couldn't comprehend. Unconditional mate acceptance. The fighting factions below saw the blinding flash. They saw their leaders suddenly standing on the altar in their rightful forms. The realization of the soul swap hit them all at once. Liam, feeling the full, magnificent power of his alpha voice restored, roared a command that shook the trees. "Cease fire, now!" Silas, still clutching his injured wrist, looked up at his queen. Elara, restored and regal, met his gaze, her ice-cold eyes delivering a silent, lethal promise of retribution. She then looked at Liam, her features softening slightly. Liam took a single powerful stride off the altar, crossing the earth toward his mate. He didn't rush the hug. He took her cold, perfect face in his massive hands, his thumb gently wiping a trace of mud from her cheek. He smiled, a deep, triumphant smile that spoke of victory and profound love. "Welcome home, my queen." Elara met his gaze, a rare, genuine warmth in her eyes. "My heart recognized you in that clumsy, overgrown body, Alpha. I'm glad to be cold again." Their kiss was the final sealing of the bond, a promise that they would never again fight the truth of their souls, no matter the vessel. Their war was over. Their union had just begun. The epilogue, a language of forever. 6 months later. The air between the werewolf territory and the Vampire Coven lands was no longer thick with hatred, but with a palpable, uneasy tension. The war had not ended with annihilation, but with a deeply confusing, supernatural truce. In the newly established neutral zone, a sleek modern meeting hall constructed exactly on the ruins of the Fey Grove, Alpha Liam and Queen Elara presided over the first official Alliance Council. Liam, warm and powerful in his own skin, sat facing the council of nervous, suspicious vampire nobles. Elara, cold and impeccable, faced the council of confused, watchful shadow moon betas and elders. Rhys, the Beta, still wore a residual suspicion, especially when Elara, the real one, spoke. Silas, wounded but reinstated, watched Liam, the alpha who used his queen's body, with grudging, analytical respect. Elara addressed the council, her voice a smooth, ice-cold command. "The treaty is simple. We defend the borders against the true threat, the Fae. Any hostile incursion from either side will result in the immediate and unified response of both factions." Liam added, his alpha voice rumbling with authority. "We now understand the vulnerabilities of the enemy's body. We know where you sleep and where you hunt. That knowledge is the only peace we will ever have," the councils murmured. The knowledge they each possessed about the other's internal weaknesses, physical, emotional, and political, was a far more effective deterrent than any threat of war. Later that evening, in their shared, specially warded private chamber, Liam and Elara were finally alone. Liam was shirtless, radiating the wolf's comforting heat. Elara was sitting by the window, cool and still, watching the distant pack territory. Liam walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her cold waist, pulling her back against his warmth. The contrast was exquisite, her icy skin against his blazing heat. "You were too formal with Silas today," Liam teased, burying his nose in her hair. "You didn't remind him that I know he sleeps with a silk pillow full of garlic under his head, a secret only my body discovered." Elara laughed, a rare musical sound. "And you were too aggressive with Rhys. You forgot I know the exact rhythmic heartbeat required to unlock your precious vault. I could empty your treasury tomorrow." She twisted in his arms, her cold hands cupping his face. "We are bound not by shared experience, Alpha, but by the ultimate betrayal of instinct. We wore each other's hell and still chose to be together. That is a bond no other mate can claim." Liam looked into her ancient, beautiful eyes. He had hated her body, but loved her soul. She had hated his body, but loved his truth. He kissed her, a deep, possessive kiss. "Before the swap," Liam confessed, his voice husky, I planned to kill you by sunlight. I knew nothing of true power. Now, I know the strength required to resist a full moon shift and the hunger of a vampire. I love every ruthless inch of your true self, my queen." Elara smiled, her ultimate expression of acceptance. "And I love the brute strength that saves innocence, my king. You taught me that even the most aggressive power can be used for good." They had found a language of love that transcended bodies, species, and eternal hatred. They were the soul-swapped lovers, ruling two worlds, forever united by the secret language of their enemy's skin.